Hi friends, welcome to classes by Lab Doctor. In today's class, let us briefly understand the metabolism of triglyceride. This is important because when we discuss the pathogenesis of what increased triglycerides can do to our body, or what are the medications we might have to give to a patients to reduce triglycerides, we will need to understand how the triglyceride is metabolized in the body. So let us have a brief study about the triglyceride metabolism. So what are these triglycerides? I have told you triglycerides are nothing but these are the fats which are unused calories which are converted into fats and stored in our body, and most of them will be used in the time of need like starvation, in between the meals when we need energy. This is utilized, like how we stack our kitchen shelves with things which are unusing. Similarly, the body stores this unused calories in the form of triglycerides. Only when we need, we take this out and we use it. Similarly, triglycerides are also used in the same manner. Now, importance of this triglyceride is that I have told you, like, whenever the energy demand increases, like during the period of fasting or physical activity, these are the ones which are broken down into glycerol and fatty acids, and through a process called as lipolysis. So when these fatty acids are broken down, I've told you that triglyceride is a combination of glycerol and fatty acid. When these fatty acids are broken down, they can be used as an energy source by various tissues like skeletal muscle, liver, etc. So this is an efficient source of energy for us, that is the triglyceride. So now, how are these triglycerides synthesized? See, triglyceride synthesis predominantly occurs in the liver and in the adipose tissue. In the liver, what happens? The excess dietary carbohydrates and the proteins undergo de novo lipogenesis. So, if you are having excess carbohydrates or excess of protein, there will be de novo lipogenesis, formation of fats. That is a process wherein these substances would be converted to fats. And these fatty acids, along with the fatty acids which are obtained from the diet, subsequently they will combine with the glycerol to form the triglyceride, and this will be carried with the help of this VLDL, which is a carrier, which is the main carrier of TG. Hence, increased VLDL, increased TG, both are dangerous to us. So this is how it is. This is a dietary fat, and the sugars, the proteins are also converted into the excess of which are also converted into fatty acid, and then they will combine with the glycerol to form TG, and they are carried by the VLDL molecules. Triglycerides are transported with the help of these lipoproteins. Lipoproteins are an important part in the lipid transport, and these are like chylomicrons, VLDL, LDL, etc., which carries these lipids to the peripheral tissues. So you will see that, or we will study about lipoproteins in our further classes also. But remember, these lipoproteins are mainly, they are formed in the liver, and they consist of this triglyceride, phospholipids, cholesterols, and protein. And the main transport form of this lipid in the blood is this lipoproteins, because fats are insoluble in water. They cannot directly travel through this blood. So what happens is, that is why these lipoproteins carry them, and that will make them easily transportable with the help of this lipoproteins. So lipoproteins, I've told you, they are chylomicron. You can see here the highest amount of triglyceride is carried by these chylomicrons, and VLDL, which is again which carries around 50% of triglyceride, around 23% of this cholesterol. LDL carries around 47% of cholesterol, and around 10% of triglycerides. So these are the lipoproteins. So any increase in these lipoproteins like VLDL, LDL, they can also increase your risk, because they carry most amount of these TGs or the cholesterol. So I've told you that when we eat these lipids or the fats, they are emulsified. The bile acids are the one which helps to emulsify these dietary lipids, and then they are packaged into these chylomicrons, and these chylomicrons are transported through the lymphatic and the vascular system. So in this picture, you will see that the bile acids are secreted. The pancreas secretes the lipase, and whatever food we intake. So this the lipids are dispersed as micelles here with the help of this bile as well as this lipase, etc. And in the enterocytes, you will see that this fat, whenever they are broken down, and they are carried. So this lymphatic system transports this chylomicrons and this fat droplets, and then when it transports, it gives energy to your muscles, your skeletal muscles, cardiac muscles, etc. And the unused whatever fat is there, unused fat is stored now in the adipose tissue. So this is the triglyceride structure. I have told you that this is made up of one glycerol and three fatty acid. And here, whenever there is whenever the triglyceride has to be formed, it needs fatty acid as well as the glycerol. When in the adipose tissue, when we are talking, these triglycerides are synthesized using the glycerol and fatty acids which are obtained from the bloodstream. So what happens is, whenever there is an energy requirement, it is this fatty acid which provides this triglyceride. So it will use the glycerol and fatty acid and make them into triglyceride here. So this esterification takes place of this fatty acid and triglyceride, and this esterification reaction, after this esterification reaction, this is stored in the adipose tissue. So here you can see these are the fat cells, and here you'll see that this is the fat triglyceride which are stored. And when this fat exceeds certain level, you will have increased visceral fat, etc., increased belly fat, which is a part of this your metabolic syndrome, and that is when it causes a lot of issues and various health problems. So now once it is synthesized in our liver, in our adipose tissue, from the dietary sources, when we utilize it and when we use the excess of carbohydrates and proteins, and we make this triglyceride. Now how does the breakdown of this triglyceride happen, and how do we use this to provide energy? So this breakdown of triglycerides into glycerol and fatty acid, it is called as lipolysis. So this triglyceride is broken down into glycerol and fatty acid. Various hormones play an important role here, like glucagon, adrenaline, etc. So these are the ones which stimulate this lipolysis, especially during fasting or any stressful condition. And this glycerol and fatty acid which are released, they can be used by our body to generate energy. So this is the triglyceride, it becomes diglyceride, monoglyceride, and then to glycerol and fatty acid, and they enter the circulation. So triglyceride cannot be directly taken up by the cells, so they have to be broken down. So they have to be broken down into fatty acid and glycerol, and I've told you various hormones help in doing this, lipoprotein, lipase, etc. The glycerol, what is broken down, goes to the liver. So now I've told you that this triglyceride, when it is stored in the adipose tissue, it is stored in the liver, it is stored in the muscle, a small quantity, majority is in the adipose tissue. When we say lipolysis, whether or not triglyceride comes from muscle or liver, basic step for the breakdown of triglyceride would be same. There would be mobilization, there would be circulation, uptake, activation, translocation, beta oxidation, and aerobic metabolism of these lipids. So the lipid mobilization, I've told you, whenever the triglycerides have to be broken down, whenever this fatty acid and glycerol are released from it into the blood from the adipose tissue, this takes place with the help of various enzymes like hormone sensitive lipase. So I've told you the glycerol, what is broken down, that goes to the liver here, that is used for glucogenesis, glycogenesis, and even the lipid biosynthesis. And now the fatty acid, whatever fatty acid is released, that requires a carrier. It cannot go alone, it will not mix, so it needs a carrier to carry it. So this is the mobilization you can see in this picture. This also requires various enzymes like epinephrine, adenylate cyclase, etc. This helps in the mobilization of this lipid. So here this you can see this hormone sensitive lipase, and in patients who are deficient with this hormone sensitive lipase, you can see the kind of fatty liver, etc. There is derangement of the lipid metabolism here. So here you will see that this is a glucagon. This is another hormone which is required for the metabolism of this triglyceride. This glucagon is very important. Remember, whenever the glucose levels are low, the glucagon is produced in our body. So when the glucose is gone, glucagon is produced. So this glucagon tries to increase the glucose levels. It will tries to increase the fatty acid oxidation. It will increase the lipolysis. Glucagon will help in the breakdown of this lipid. It will increase the heart rate. It will decrease the gastrointestinal motility so that more and more of glucose is absorbed. So glucagon mainly functions when the glucose level goes down. This enzyme comes up and it will increase the glucose level. It will increase the breakdown of the lipids. So insulin has an opposite effect. Insulin will inhibit lipolysis. So insulin is a hormone which will inhibit the breakdown of this fat to provide energy for the body. So insulin role in regulating lipolysis is important for preventing diabetic ketoacidosis. So and also to prevent the lipotoxic effects of these lipids. So how does insulin inhibit lipolysis? Insulin will bind to the insulin receptor on the fat cells. So it will reduce the activity of this fat. So cyclic AMP. So this inhibits the activity of the hormone sensitive lipase and that enzyme which is breaking down this triglyceride which we have talked about, and also decreases the transcription of adipose triglyceride lipase. So by inhibiting or by reducing various hormones, etc., it will reduce the lipolysis. Insulin inhibits lipolysis, glucagon stimulates lipolysis. So this is how the function of insulin happens. And in diabetes, what happens? There is a decreased insulin, or insulin sensitivity is reduced. There is insulin resistance. Hence what happens here? There is a lipid metabolism is impaired in diabetes. So in the consequence of this impaired lipolysis is that there will be excess of free fatty acid. Whenever the insulin cannot effectively inhibit lipolysis, there is increased release of free fatty acid from the adipose tissue. So you can see here the lipids are increasingly broken down. So there is an increased release of free fatty acid from the adipose tissue. The accumulation of free fatty acids in bloodstream will lead to insulin resistance, both in the muscles as well as the liver. And also this increased free fatty acid level contribute to various complications of diabetes, including dyslipidemia, worsening of insulin resistance, etc. So insulin is also a very important hormone, and this insulin resistance causes so many complications in diabetes because insulin is a main hormone which will inhibit lipolysis. So when it cannot inhibit lipolysis, there are various complications which can occur. Is how the lipolysis is regulated. So whenever there is starvation, whenever we are doing exercise, there what happens is there is increased secretion of this catecholamines, etc., which will increase the cyclic AMP, and there is increased lipolysis. Whenever we are feeding enough and more, whenever there is insulin, this insulin will inhibit the lipolysis. That is how it will do that, by reducing the cyclic AMP. So remember, the key enzymes that help in the regulation of fatty acid synthesis and breakdown would be, for the synthesis you require this acetyl-CoA carboxylase, fatty acid synthetase, and acyl-CoA synthetase. For lipolysis you require hormone sensitive lipase, adipose triglyceride lipase. So these are the key enzymes for both lipid synthesis as well as lipolysis. So this is how it is, the enzymes which are helping us to do the lipolysis as well as lipogenesis. So there are various other factors that affect the triglyceride metabolism. One is overeating. If you are eating extra calories, especially from carbohydrate rich food, fatty rich food, sugary foods, etc., they can increase your triglyceride level. You being overweight or obese, that can increase your TG levels. Smoking, heavy drinking, that can increase your TG level. No physical activity, sedentary lifestyle, that can increase your triglyceride level. Hypothyroidism, certain medication like antipsychotics, beta blockers, they can increase your triglyceride levels. So all these things can affect your triglyceride metabolism. So that was in brief about triglyceride metabolism. Thank you so much for watching the video. Please like, share and subscribe the channel. Thank you.